get off the ducks in a row piece because I think Eric's going to run out of duck songs if we had to just go to that. Welcome back to Brashenomics. I'm Ben Brash, and joining me right now, Paul Kocharhook, owner of Pathway Design and Construction. Paul's an American Lung Association master home environmentalist, and his company Pathway Design and Construction focuses on environmentally friendly building. And Paul, first of all, I want to say congratulations, as you were just recently ranked number 4 in the state of Washington by Remodeling Magazine.
Yeah, thank you.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I had no idea it was happening.
Yeah, I mean it's a fun award. I mean it verifies everything you're doing, and so you must be continuing to do a good job.
Yeah.
Now, when you start looking at houses, a lot of times, people end up remodeling their house maybe because, well, they didn't really take very good care of it in the first place. And there's some maintenance items that maybe are less expensive than big fixes, I guess you could say. What are some big home maintenance items that, that we start looking at going into fall that maybe could save people a ton of money down the road?
Yeah, we're just finishing up some projects that the homeowner done some maintenance over the years. It would have saved them tens of thousands of dollars, and then in one case, $100,000. And
it's an expensive mistake.
It is, and in the case of the really expensive one, it wasn't their fault. It was they had purchased the house from somebody else, and the mistake was made during the putting the house back together or building it to begin with. So really taking a look at the exterior envelope of your building, so that being the siding around your windows and your roof. Those are essentially that's what protects you. It's your raincoat when you're in your house.
So it's a lot of, just kind of keeping the weather out. It's anywhere water gets in. I guess wind doesn't really get in.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Oh.
It gets in our walls.
Tell me more.
Well, the wind blows, right?
It does. And that's why they call it wind.
And if we have rain, it's bringing the water in with it. And
so the moisture in the air can actually, can start to mess with the house.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with some of the materials that we're building with. When we do a remodel on an older home, we have a lot of old growth fir that we're dealing with. That stuff's rock solid. It's almost petrified a lot of times. You can't even put a nail through it or cut it.
That's like the stuff you see if you're like downtown in one of the old industrial buildings. They're just huge, full pieces of fir.
Yeah. And so now we're not tapping into that old growth lumber because there's laws against that now. And so we're using newer resources which they're not as solid of lumber, and they insects and fungus and stuff can attack it a lot more easily.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not fun. When we start digging into these walls, and one that we just got done with, it was built in 1985, and literally we could reach our hand into the wall and pull out chunks of the studs that were in there. I don't know what was. I think the siding was what was actually holding this side of the house up.
Wow. So that's one example. So actually that we're literally the bones of the house have rotted out, and the skin's what's holding it up.
Yeah.
That's kind of a gross way to put it. Studs are like the bones, and the outside is like the skin.
No, it's a great analogy. I just visually, for all those visual listeners out there.
Tom's over here just laughing. So what are some other big projects that you have? What are some of the other examples?
So making sure. So if we're looking at it from the top down, making sure that the flashing, say around your chimney, we see a lot of leaks happening around chimneys. If you have a chimney on your house, making sure that your flashing's still intact. Or, last year, maybe during one of the windstorms, some of your shingles blew off. You didn't take care of it at that point. Now's the time to start looking at. I should probably get some. Get the shingles. Yeah, get the shingles reattached to the roof. It's gonna start raining eventually.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
So, it sounds like some of these are just things you can actually just go look at with your own eye. Even just taking a few minutes to go do that.
Yep. Everybody should. I just did it on my house, on the back of my house over the weekend, and I started noticing, okay, the caulking around my windows is starting to crack. And I mean, it's a really easy fix. Just recaulk it. Although there's certain ways that you want to do it. You want to remove the old caulk first. You don't want to put new caulk over the failing caulk, right?
Sure. So I guess there's an order of operations, right?
That's right.
I mean, with anything. So what else, we talked a little bit about, I guess the roof blowing off and, chimneys failing, or at least the flashing around it. That's the caulking around places. This all seems like water protrusion areas. I mean, it sounds to me like as you mentioned, you're making sure the raincoat doesn't have any holes in it.
That's right. And that's where a lot of my work comes from, is water. It's water damage. And so in some cases now we've talked about the envelope of the building. Now we maybe go out a little further and we look at maybe the sidewalks around your house. I was just looking at a house over on Mercer Island, built back in the 60s. They have they're on the lower slope of a hill, but they have a lot of water that's been running down, and the concrete is just gone.
Mangled.
It's just mangled. And so now all that concrete's sloping into the house, whereas before it was probably sloped away, but now it's pushing all that water right into the basement. So I don't know what's happening in the basement. I was just asked to look at the outside. So.
You're like, there may be another piece of this inspection that would be a good idea. So is there any just very glaring, obvious things people look for? I mean, when you start looking at, looking at on a roof, you see a shingle, So how might
a homeowner know if there's an issue? Maybe to start seeing some paint bubbling on the outside. I like to use examples of projects that we've done. And homeowner, the really expensive job, he had noticed ants kind of crawling out, and the woodpeckers had started pecking at the side of the house to go in and get the ants out. But it never occurred to him at that point in time that there might be some additional issues that were happening at that point. That
can't imagine that
it's
you
not
wouldn't,
just
like when the ants go, and then the birds are eating them out of your house. It just seems kind of obvious. But I guess not.
I don't think
you more think you call the Orkin man or like Terminex rather than like, hey, my house probably has a problem.
And maybe it does. Maybe it seems more obvious to us as the outsider looking in. But if it's your home, it's like you go home every night. It's like,
I just realized it wouldn't actually be obvious, because I would think I had an ant problem and
that would be the extent of it,
and
right?
a noise problem with a woodpecker inside of my house all day. But I mean, I guess those are things that, to the untrained eye, you don't know to look for.
Right.
What was wrong? Why was there ants and a woodpecker?
So it was originally, so the siding was installed incorrectly, which allowed water to get into the wall, which then allowed the studs to start accumulating moisture. So then the ants found their way in and literally ate this side of the house off. These homeowners were so lucky. The person who built the house before was a superintendent for one of the commercial contractors. And so he had taken some materials off the site. He'd taken like some steel beams and steel posts and stuff. And that's essentially what was holding this side of the house up. Had that steel not been in there, and who puts steel in a residential building, right? I mean, how lucky were these people that the steel was actually there? Otherwise, that house literally that side of the house would have fallen down because there was nothing holding it up.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So, so pests are another, are water. I mean, you start seeing pests, and that is another issue.
Right. And if you see ants around your house, I mean, it's not normal.
Yeah.
To see, because you can.
It is normal these days. Spiders, they are friggin' everywhere.
They're everywhere. You're right.
Man. Sorry.
Yeah. But they can get into your house though, right? And how does a spider get into your house? There's got to be a hole somewhere.
Yeah. In the spider door.
Is it? Well, it could be through a door, so maybe your door's not weather stripped.
I mean, I guess, but we actually have talked. I mean, don't you want the breathability of a house too? I mean,
you do.
I mean, your house shouldn't just be like completely shut, like airtight. So is there a happy medium where the air comes in but the spiders stay out?
Yeah, how big should they be when we start getting worried? Is that the real question?
Right,
should
or how
little
many
ones fit through?
You're going to see spiders. Spiders can actually get through windows. Like if you have vinyl windows, we're going to see now that it's getting colder in the mornings, so the vinyl shrinks in the morning, and as it gets warmer, then it heats up and it fills the gap. So they're going to be able to crawl through windows, and I mean the air is going to get through. And
It happens.
It does.
I mean, there's
it's
spiders
just-
everywhere, and I know where this is totally not a conversation about spiders to start with, but you start looking at whether it's ants or whatnot, and these are things everybody notices spiders. I don't know if everybody notices ants.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and there's ways you can kind of visually see what's going on, and they'll leave little trails, little dirt trails sometimes. So.
We're here with Paul Kocharhook with Pathway Design and Construction. Paul, it sounds to me like homeowners really need to be curious about their home. If you're out camping, you look at the tent, right? I mean, you make sure the stakes are in the ground. But people probably spend more time doing that than they do actually looking at the exterior of their home.
Right. And, you're hiring a professional to come and do the work. Mm-hmm. I would say that a majority the couple of projects that I just mentioned, they were a result of poor installation. And if...
From the superintendent of a construction company?
That, and I mean, just another, I don't know if it was a homeowner who had purchased the home from a contractor who had built it. And so you're relying basically on the contractor to put your house together, right? And to do it in a manner that's right. But how many times have I hired somebody and, we have to be those, as a general contractor, we need to be the eyes on site. And the guys that sometimes my subcontractors might send out in the field, they're not doing that anymore. But they are maybe new or they don't completely understand because there's so many new materials that are out there now. What is the correct way to actually install the product? And if it's not installed correctly, it's going to fail.
Is there, I mean, there must be major installation issues. I know, you see on like, say, TV, it's like Geico or whatever, like this, membrane that you put on, or you see, I don't know what, we just had something put on our roof, like a white snow roof.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It looks really, you read the side and the guy says it was what we needed. So I obviously deferred to the guy who was doing the roof. But there's installation parts. I mean, you can't put that stuff on while the roof is dirty or, things of that nature.
Exactly. Yeah. Most of it goes to the prep. Because that's where everything starts failing is if it's not prepped right, it's not going to adhere or it's not.
They might not have their ducks in a row.
That's right.
Man. See? Always comes full circle. Paul, we do have to go to break, but I know you wanted to say something to a special listener out there.
I did. It's my son's 8th birthday, so happy birthday, Aiden.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Aiden!
birthday, buddy. We'll be right back after this break.